Information tonight in the search for one of Africa's most wanted men. Let's go to Ndimyake Mwakalyelye for details. Ndimi?
Well, thank you, Vincent. Human rights groups say Joseph Kony and his Lord's Resistance Army have found a safe haven along the border between Sudan and South Sudan. As VOA's Scott Stearns reports, Chinese influence may help convince the government in Khartoum to get tough with the LRA.
Facing an international arrest warrant for war crimes in East Africa, Lord's Resistance Army Commander Joseph Kony is on the run. Human rights groups believe he's found refuge in Sudan. Sasha Lezhnev is an analyst with the Enough Project.
We have uncovered that the LRA has been setting up bases, or had set up bases, in an area that was de facto controlled by Sudan for the last couple of years.
Commercial satellite images released by the Enough Project show what the group says is a camp used by the LRA as recently as February. Patrick Ventrell is a State Department spokesman.
The United States is aware and continues to evaluate reports that the LRA has operated in the disputed Kafia Kingi area claimed by both Sudan and South Sudan. The U.S. and the international community as a whole would take very seriously any credible evidence of support or safe haven being provided to the LRA.
Off-camera, U.S. officials say they do not have sufficient evidence that Sudan has resumed significant support for the LRA. Lezhnev says Sudan is giving the LRA time and space to regroup.
Providing a safe harbor is significant, and it's worrying insofar that the LRA has new safe haven areas.
Especially for such a mobile force, says Jennifer Cook at the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
The LRA has been very nimble in moving across borders to escape scrutiny. And you know, with everything that is going on between the north and south within Sudan, what's happening in the southern part of Sudan itself, I think there's not a whole lot of attention focused on tracking down the LRA within Sudan.
Sudanese President Omar Hassan al-Bashir says he is not backing the LRA. At a time when he's looking to improve Sudan's standing, giving up the LRA could make sense.
It would be a sign of good faith, and it's not clear what interest Sudan right now would have in harboring the LRA. They've got bigger issues,
such as fully restoring oil exports, in which China played a leading role. Lezhnev says Beijing could help with the LRA as well.
Some creative pressure and including pressure from the United States has helped achieve some results with Sudan, and you know, having China weigh in to a stronger degree than they had before has also helped.
But Sarah Margon at Human Rights Watch says China has no direct interest in the LRA.
In the case of the LRA, in the case of Joseph Kony, this is really a civilian protection mission for the U.S. There's frankly not a lot else in it for the United States right now. And so in getting China to engage and to support American interests in the counter-LRA mission is a tough one.
Lezhnev says LRA's safe haven in Sudan will continue to be a concrete danger until there's a change in Khartoum. Scott Stearns, VOA News at the State Department.
Well, Scott Stearns actually now joins us from the State Department with more details. Thanks for joining us, Scott.
Sure thing, Ndimyake.
I want to start off with the point about China. Now, we heard the Enough Project say that it can have an influence, but Human Rights is saying really it's not in China's interest. So knowing that, how much convincing can the U.S. do to make China more cooperative?
Well, they'll certainly make the case, but the United States has a long list of areas where it would like greater Chinese cooperation, not only in Africa, but perhaps more importantly for the United States, in the East China Sea and the South China Sea. Mm-hmm. So how much effort they can put into this is obviously relative to the other areas that they are looking for Chinese assistance on North Korea and on Iran.
Now, Scott, many may be questioning the U.S.'s position right now. Enough Project says it has satellite images actually showing that Kony and his LRA are in this area between South Sudan and Sudan, yet the U.S. is saying it's still evaluating, though it knows about it. What does this make of the fact that, you know, the U.S. has been really actively trying to capture Kony? Is this not literally a handout?
It has. As you know, the U.S. effort to get Joseph Kony has focused largely on supporting Ugandan troops in the Central African Republic. That's on pause now because of the change of government in Bangui. But that does not mean the United States has taken its eye off of areas through which the LRA operates in Kivu and also in this area of Kafia Kingi, which is still in this disputed area between Sudan and South Sudan, which no doubt complicates the efforts to get into that area. There is a delegation from the government in Khartoum that is expected to come here to Washington sometime in the recent future. That date is still to be determined. If that delegation comes, U.S. officials say they will raise the issue of looking the other way for the LRA.
Now, what has been traditionally the relationship between Khartoum and the LRA?
Yeah, as you know, in the past, Khartoum gave much more active support to the LRA. This is when the Sudan government saw it as an opportunity to destabilize the region, punish Yoweri Museveni, if you will, in Uganda for his support of the SPLA-SPLM in what was then southern Sudan. With an independent South Sudan, Khartoum, while it still has an interest in destabilizing or maintaining some level of chaos along the still undeclared border, as you heard in that report, they are perhaps more interested in making sure that the flow of oil fully resumes from that area. That's a big revenue earner from Sudan. So the LRA isn't what it used to be. Sudan's interest in the LRA is not what it used to be either.
All right. Well, Scott Stearns joining us from the State Department. Thank you so much.